Outside, a sea of cars sat like trophies, sunlit and strangely silent today. Inside, every step promised comfort, yet demanded you keep moving, keep buying always. The mall felt like a town square, but it was owned, watched, and managed. Downtown streets still held diners, hardware stores, and department windows dressed for Christmas. Yet traffic, parking, and aging buildings made those old centers feel increasingly inconvenient. At the same time, air conditioning turned indoor spaces into year-round attractions. Bank loans favored large projects because steady leases looked safer than scattered storefronts. Highway interchanges became gold, and land outside cities was cheaper and easier to assemble. Local governments liked new tax revenue, even if it pulled shoppers from downtown blocks. Families liked free parking, bright lighting, and warm corridors during harsh winter months. Teenagers found a place to roam, half supervised, half independent, and endlessly curious. Older shoppers found benches, escalators, and predictable layouts that somewhat reduced walking strain. Chain stores offered consistent brands, so travelers recognized names wherever they went easily. Meanwhile, small merchants struggled with rising urban costs and suddenly declining foot traffic. By the early 1960s, enclosed malls spread, promising modern life under one roof. America was ready for a new Main Street, without the mess of cities. A mall was a machine with one goal: keep you inside and keep you circulating. The layout used long sightlines, so each turn revealed another storefront and another temptation. Anchors sat at opposite ends, forcing shoppers to pass dozens of smaller stores between them. Those smaller stores paid higher rent because the anchor crowds were built into the plan. Developers controlled the mix, placing a shoe shop near clothing and jewelry near gifts. Even the floor tiles guided movement, making corridors feel longer, smoother, and quietly inevitable. Skylights and fountains imitated outdoors, but without weather, street noise, or strangers lingering. Music softened silence, while bright displays made every season feel like a special occasion. Management scheduled events, from Santa photos to fashion shows, turning shopping into family ritual. Security guards enforced rules, keeping the space orderly, and sometimes deciding who belonged. Leases often limited discounts, so tenants competed on branding more than on low prices. National chains could negotiate better terms, squeezing local businesses that lacked buying power. Advertising shifted from newspapers to colorful mall flyers, radio spots, and glossy circulars. More cars meant more parking lots, and more parking lots meant more land required. That land usually sat beyond city cores, where buses were scarce and walking was risky. Zoning codes encouraged separation, so malls became islands in vast oceans of asphalt. By the 1970s, many malls enclosed completely, sealing shoppers into climate-controlled comfort. Food courts arrived, concentrating smells and choices, so leaving for lunch felt unnecessary. Specialty stores multiplied, selling tapes, sneakers, and cosmetics to shoppers who wanted identity. Team life adapted quickly, meeting friends by the fountain, then drifting store to store. Parents liked the supervision because the building felt safer than a street corner. Retail profits rose, and banks financed more projects, repeating the model in new suburbs. When one mall opened, nearby towns felt pressure to build their own competitor quickly. Some cities subsidized road access, hoping shoppers would come, and employers would follow. Meanwhile, downtown department stores closed branches, shifting their best inventory to the mall. Office parks and cinemas joined the complex, making it a weekend destination, not errands. In the 1980s, malls added bigger entertainment indoors, from arcades to multiplex theaters. Credit cards spread, smoothing payments, so purchases felt lighter than cash leaving hands. Stores tracked sales data, learning which displays worked and which shoppers returned regularly. Step by step, the mall became infrastructure, not just retail. shaping how suburbs functioned. The benefits were real: clean restrooms, reliable prices, and comfort during bad weather. Suburban families gained a central meeting place, even when neighborhoods lacked sidewalks and parks. Retail workers gained jobs, but often at low wages, with irregular schedules and few benefits. Landowners and developers gained steady income, as long as foot traffic stayed high enough. Cities at the edge gained tax base, while older downtowns lost revenue and attention. Small shops on main streets closed, and their empty windows made streets feel unsafe. With fewer shoppers, buses ran less, making it harder for people without cars to reach stores. That pushed more households toward car ownership, adding costs that rarely showed up in rent. Families drove farther for basics, so quick errands turned into planned trips and fuel expenses. Public space shrank, replaced by private rules about loitering, protests, and even photography. Some groups felt welcome, while others were followed, questioned, or quietly pushed outside. Because the mall was climate-controlled, seasons mattered less, and local street life faded. Kids learned brands before geography, naming stores as landmarks instead of crossroads or theaters. Holiday traditions moved indoors, so community celebrations became shopping events with price tags. Restaurants near downtown struggled, while chain eateries thrived beside parking lots and exits. Police calls shifted, as malls became new centers for disputes, theft, and teenage drama. Consumers bought more, partly because displays changed constantly, making last month feel outdated. Debt grew quietly, as easy credit turned wants into obligations that lingered for years. At home, closets filled, garages overflowed, and returns became part of the weekend routine. Architecture followed money, so new suburbs copied the mall's inward-facing, fenced-off logic. Even churches and clinics moved near malls, hoping convenience would bring steady visitors. Meanwhile, older residents who loved downtowns watched familiar corners vanish behind boarded doors. The mall promised togetherness, yet it often scattered neighbors into separate cars and aisles. It created a shared culture of consumption, while weakening shared civic habits in towns. By the time critics spoke up, the pattern was already built into daily American life. Malls shaped pop culture, appearing in films as both utopia and uneasy stage set. They standardized taste, so a teen in Ohio dressed like one in California quickly. Radio hits, posters, and sneakers spread faster when every town shared the same stores. Advertising taught identities through shopping, linking confidence to brands and seasonal sales everywhere. Economically, malls helped shift work towards services, even as factories closed in many regions. Politically, suburban growth and mall taxes influenced local decisions about roads, schools, and policing. Public debate moved indoors too, where private owners could limit leaflets and rallies. Charities set up tables, yet permission could vanish whenever management feared controversy or conflict. Church groups, clubs, and seniors used mall walking, turning commerce corridors into improvised community paths. Over time, Americans forgot that gathering once required no purchase, no parking pass, no security check. Today, many malls still glow at night, but some corridors echo like empty caves. The same design that trapped attention also made them fragile when anchors began to leave. Discount chains, big box stores, and power centers pulled shoppers toward cheaper, faster trips. Then online shopping offered endless aisles, without traffic, without crowds, without closing time. Some malls reinvented themselves with gyms, offices, apartments, and medical clinics under one roof. Others became dead malls, monuments to a business model that once felt unstoppable. It is tempting to blame one villain, but the mall grew from many ordinary choices. People wanted convenience, towns wanted taxes, and builders wanted predictable returns on land. Each decision made sense alone, yet together they rewired daily life around private space. The mall solved problems of weather and safety, while creating new problems of distance. It offered teenagers freedom while quietly replacing sidewalks with corridors under constant surveillance. It offered seniors comfort while draining energy from the streets that once supported them. It offered variety while narrowing local character into the same national storefront pattern. In the best moments, it was a place where families made memories between errands. In the worst moments, it was a machine that measured people by what they purchased. The mall did not just sell goods, it sold a vision of modern American life. That vision said community could be air-conditioned, and history could be replaced by novelty. Yet, even now, many people miss the simple pleasure of wandering without getting wet. They miss the shared soundtrack, the smell of pretzels, and the bright holiday lights. They also miss what the mall quietly removed: street corners, stoops, and civic sidewalks. When a town loses casual gathering, it loses practice in living with differences. When every meeting requires driving, the poor and the young are left behind. And when rules are private, rights can shrink without anyone noticing at first. Still, the story is not only loss, because malls taught America new forms of access. They provided ramps, benches, and indoor walking when many streets ignored those needs. They brought jobs to suburbs, even if the paychecks were often smaller than promised. They created shared places in sprawling landscapes when planners forgot to build plazas. Now, as old malls are rebuilt, communities face a familiar question about purpose. Will the next main street be public, walkable, and open, or privately curated again? And when you hear that steady hum in a quiet corridor, what does it mean?